Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Two things we're watching this morning. First, a new winter storm watch that goes into effect tomorrow. And this morning, it's a cold weather advisory. I'll show you what to expect.
Bracing for winter weather, how the DOT is preparing to keep you safe on the roads ahead of tomorrow's storm.
And battling the blaze, a look at the devastation across Los Angeles as new dangers arise with more wildfires continuing to spark.
And paying final respects. Today is a national day of mourning as the country celebrates the life of President Jimmy Carter. We're going to outline today's funeral services as his family prepares to lay him to rest. And we'll be able to watch those, actually, that we're going to be here airing today at 10 o'clock on WRAL, so make sure you watch that. Thank you for joining us. I'm Chris Lovingood.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey. Yeah, before we get to all of that, we have to talk about the cold because it is seriously cold. We have our fountain outside of our studios. It is frozen. But another big story we're following, Elizabeth, is this winter storm watch. Oh, there you go. There's Fountain Mountain. That's what we like to call it. It is frozen this morning because it's so cold outside.
Yeah, I mean, it's really getting bigger and bigger with all this cold air. And now cold air is going to set the stage for a potential winter storm for tomorrow. The Weather Service issued this winter storm watch early this morning for the entire viewing area. Still looking more like snow in the north and a wintry mix down to the south with the potential for some isolated power outages. Let's roll through your futurecast and talk about the timeline. That's going to be lunchtime by 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It begins as maybe a few sprinkles, a little bit of light patchy rain. A lot of that should evaporate before it reaches the ground, but it's possible that maybe it would be enough to wash away or just at least get some of that brine wet. It shouldn't cause any real big issues there, I wouldn't think. By the time we get to 5 or 6 o'clock, we're starting to see snow working its way in, so I would highly recommend you get to wherever you need to be for the night by around 5 o'clock or so, because this is going to come rolling on in here. Look at this. At 8 o'clock, we are looking at widespread snow, some of that coming down pretty steadily. But then after that, we start to see the warmth moving in, changing over that snow to sleet, freezing rain and rain. And I want to pause it right there at 10 o'clock. I just want to point out that some of the models are showing the warm air coming in faster, and we would see less snow with that. So there's still sort of two scenarios here. This is going to be the best case scenario for snow, or worst case scenario if you don't like the snow. By around midnight or so, we start to see more of that changeover in the triangle, and it may be that we could see 2 inches, maybe isolated 3-inch totals near the Virginia line, around 1 inch in the triangle, and less than 1 inch in our southern counties. Not as much freezing rain and sleet in our northern counties, but some, and then a better chance for that down south, a small chance that we could see enough ice to produce some power outages. So starting as snow and sleet, we're going to see that changeover from south to north during the evening. Roads will become slick, and there's a small chance for power outages. Cold weather advisory, that's a new name for a wind chill advisory, and we're looking at very cold wind chills this morning, 13 in South Hill, 14 in the Southern Pines, 18 in Clinton and Goldsboro. So obviously you want to be bundled up as you're headed out the door. Pretty sunshine here in Durham, but it is only 25 degrees, and our high this afternoon will be in the upper 30s. I'll show you what it will feel like through the afternoon with the wind chill. I want to talk a little bit more about the discrepancies in our models that remain. Coming up, Ken.
All right, at 8:03, Elizabeth, we want to keep it outside this morning, give you a live look at the northern loop of the Beltline. This is I-440 and Ridge Road traffic, the westbound lanes coming toward us this morning. As far as the southern loop of the Beltline, here's a live look at I-40 and Lake Wheeler Road. The westbound lanes are coming toward us this morning, flowing nicely in that direction. But here's what it looks like on our live traffic sensors this morning. You think it looks like bumper-to-bumper traffic, but as you just saw, traffic is moving along at a nice steady clip. As we widen out the view, there are a couple of instances that we want to bring your attention to this morning as a result of the crashes that just popped up on our sensors, namely this serious crash on 6 Forks Road. It's in the southbound lane just before you get onto I-540. We're seeing a little bit of a delay just behind the icon there, but as you get onto I-540, it's clear sailing in both directions. This other crash on MLK Jr. Boulevard, for those of you that use MLK to get into the downtown area, this is right around Rock Quarry Road. We're not seeing any particular issues in that area, but just watch for some police activity. In terms of the drive times coming into the capital city, a couple of main spots this morning. I-40 East, you're looking at a 7-minute delay and a 9-minute delay coming in from Wake Forest this morning. In terms of the Bull City, really a lot better this morning. I showed you that situation on I-40 eastbound. Well, you're looking at a 6-minute delay, but all the other major routes are delay-free at this hour.
All right, thank you, Ken. Franklin County schools are on a 3-hour delay today because of cold weather. And as you prepare for winter weather tomorrow, you may see DOT teams on the roads preparing as well. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey joins us live from the NC DOT maintenance office in Raleigh. Kelsey, teams have already started pre-treating the roads.
Chris, we already saw about 3 trucks head out already this morning, so you can see that there seems like there's one driver there that's gassing up to head out in the next few minutes. But NC DOT has plans to start brining interstates later today. We'll also show you some video from yesterday where you can see trucks from the town of Cary putting down brine. Cary Public Works Director Matt Flynn says they brine at 40 gallons per mile. They're expecting to cover 700 miles by the time they're finished. Crews prepped main roads and neighborhoods around town, and trash routes were their #1 priority. This all in an effort to keep you safe while you're driving this weekend.
So the brine creates a layer between the snow and the asphalt, so the asphalt doesn't get stuck to with the ice.
And this is an all-hands-on-deck effort between cities, counties, and, of course, NC DOT. We did check in with the city of Raleigh. They say they plan to send out their trucks later today as well. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
And you can expect live weather updates throughout tomorrow and Saturday on WRAL News Plus. That's available over the air channel 34 and Spectrum 1257.
We want to take you live out to California right now. This is the Eaton Fire, where at least 5 fast-moving wildfires are growing in California. Emergency officials say the fires are responsible for at least 5 deaths so far. Over 100,000 people in the LA area are under mandatory evacuations right now. And new this morning, crews battled a large house fire in the Studio City area of LA earlier this morning. They were able to put out the fire hours after it started, but firefighters were concerned the flames could spread into the bushes around the home. Scenes like this are happening right now across LA. People are being told to pack their bags and leave immediately.
Former North Carolinians who now live in Southern California are themselves in the middle of those massive wildfires. Cameron Merritt spoke with us from his home in Los Angeles. He cut his visit short to Raleigh so he could go back to California to check on his house. And now he's getting ready to evacuate again as the fires intensify.
Already have a couple bags packed, ready to go, just grab the essentials and some clothes and that sort of thing, have them loaded up in the car.
Merritt told us how important it's been to stay in contact with his family for everyone's peace of mind.
President Joe Biden has canceled his trip to Italy this week to monitor those wildfires in Los Angeles. Biden was scheduled to travel to Rome today for the first overseas trip of his presidency. The president met with officials in Santa Monica yesterday before returning to Washington. He has approved a federal disaster declaration for Los Angeles County.
And today, the nation says its final farewell to President Jimmy Carter. What you're seeing here is a live look at the U.S. Capitol this morning, where the Rotunda visitation has ended. It's a national day of mourning. President Biden will deliver a eulogy for the late president at his funeral service at Washington, D.C.'s National Cathedral. The service is scheduled to begin at 11 a.m. Carter passed away December 29th at 100 years old. Mourners reflected on what they'll remember most about Carter, including Monica Deenan. Her mother was a Carter delegate.
Decency. I think that's the adjective everybody uses for him. Respect. Selfless. Willing to do what was right, even if it wasn't popular.
After his funeral, the 39th president will be flown to Georgia for a private service at the church where he taught Sunday school for decades. And then he'll be buried next to his beloved wife of 77 years, Rosalind.
And to observe President Carter's National Day of Mourning, your mail from the U.S. Postal Service will not be delivered today. All post office locations are closed. Things will be quiet on Wall Street. There will be no stock trading today either.
And you can watch the national funeral for Jimmy Carter and all of today's proceedings over on WRAL and all our platforms. That starts at 10 o'clock. Governor Josh Stein canceled his inaugural event because of the winter weather on its way. Stein planned to have a block party in Raleigh on Saturday to celebrate his 2024 election victory. There was also an open house scheduled for Sunday. He says he hopes to reschedule the block party, but he hasn't given a date, not just yet.
Today, Durham Public Schools could approve new strategies to address its shortage of bus drivers. The board will review its plans during a work session. They include what the school system calls express routes, where students will catch a bus at large centralized bus stops. A rotational bus schedule is in place right now, and parents are responsible for getting their kids to school once a week. As of last month, the district had an immediate need for 30 bus drivers and 59 vacant positions.
Your time is 8:10. Outrage at a Georgia high school.
It's very troubling, and I think we need answers as to why things have not changed.
The call for change because a student brought a gun to school months after a deadly shooting.
Plus, a scheme to raise the rent. How the Attorney General says multiple landlord companies used artificial intelligence to increase rent prices.
And new this morning, a winter storm watch is in effect for the entire viewing area, but it doesn't mean that we'll all see the same thing. This goes into effect tomorrow, and I'll show you what you could expect.
Welcome back on your very chilly Thursday morning as we take a live look over Wilson. The whirligigs kind of going there a little bit. You can see a little bit of wind blowing, but it is so cold out there this morning. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner, we're tracking today. We're also tracking what we can expect Friday into Saturday.
Yeah, we have a string of wintry type temperatures and then precipitation in our forecast. But right now it is all quiet. Fayetteville and Raleigh, Apex, Chapel Hill, all looking clear this morning. Chapel Hill's courtesy of Top of the Hill Restaurant. We do have a cold weather advisory in effect for this morning. That may sound new to you. The Weather Service just changed the wind chill advisory to a cold weather advisory, thinking that, we can have cold weather without having strong winds. And so that's the reason for the change. Boy, it's cold out there. We do have the wind chill this morning. 17 in Durham and Raleigh. Feels like 13 in Roxborough and South Hill. 14 in Southern Pines and 19 in Clinton. Everybody's stepping out the door to wind chills in the teens this morning. And then will our snow drought end for tomorrow? It's likely. There's still a window of question about whether, we're going to see a whole lot of snow in the Triangle area or not. We haven't seen it in 1,076 days. Last time was January 29th, 2000, where we had about half an inch. We do have a new winter storm watch that's in effect for the entire viewing area, but that doesn't mean that we're going to see heavy snow across the viewing area. It's likely to be much more of a wintry mix down south, and then where that line ends up, we shall see. It is likely to start as snow or maybe some sleet down in our southern counties. And then we're going to see that freezing rain mixing in, and that line will just start to lift northward. Roads will be our biggest concern. I do think that in a lot of places, the roads may get fairly slick. So you're going to want to be where you need to be for the rest of the night by around 5 or 6 o'clock. The threat for widespread power outages is likely fairly low. This storm is going to produce a lot of snow for somebody. Look at that snow spreading up through North Texas and on up into Oklahoma. This storm system is going to cause travel problems for anybody trying to fly, as we see a lot of delays as this affects a good bit of the south, of course, including North Carolina. Let's check Futurecast. Starting here at lunchtime, it is cloudy. By the time we get to 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we have the chance of some light rain. Some of that may end up evaporating before it reaches the ground. Snow starts to show up here on Futurecast by around 5 o'clock. So again, I feel like that's the time you need to go ahead and get to where you need to be. By 8 o'clock, this version of Futurecast shows a good bit of snow, but some of the models are showing a lot more sleet for the Triangle area, even as early as 8 o'clock. So, still some differing potential here. This version of Futurecast does start that changeover around 8 to 10 in the south and puts that changeover around the Triangle close to midnight or around 1 a.m. This is the snow potential from European, which puts us at, maybe an inch to 2. This is a new run that came in looking at a little bit heavier snow. The GFS, or the American model, continues to bring some lighter amounts of snow, but that new run that just came in does look a little bit heavier. So I tell you what, the models have been really back and forth. This is our current snow forecast, anywhere from 1 to 3 inches, maybe an inch in the Triangle to mostly 2 inches to the north, isolated 3-inch totals, and then less than an inch in our southern counties. And then it flip-flops for ice, less ice in the north, but a chance that we would have accumulating freezing rain that could cause some power outages. Remember, freezing rain spray, of course, is a raindrop that falls into some cold air, and of course it freezes on surfaces, creating some heavy conditions that can knock down power lines. Sleet is an ice fillet that goes ping, ping, ping. Meteorologist Anthony Baglione coming up to talk in a little while more about that in detail. All right, looking at Friday and Saturday, of course, with a WRAL weather alert day. We'll talk more about our cold temperatures today. Coming up, Ken.
All right, Elizabeth, at 8:17, I want to start with this live look at the northern loop of the Beltline. This is I-440 and Ridge Road. You can see traffic flowing nicely in both directions, but here's what it looks like on our live traffic sensors this morning. You can see really the congestion is building around Capitol Boulevard, and once you get past Ridge Road, it's free and clear this morning. There are a couple of crashes that we want to bring your attention to this morning. This is a serious crash, likely in the clearing phase on 6 Forks Road southbound, just before you get onto I-540. And of course, once you get onto I-540, it's clear sailing. We're not seeing any delays on 6 Forks this morning. If you use MLK Junior Boulevard to get into the downtown area, there's a crash right there at Rock Quarry Road, but we're not seeing any delays whatsoever. So that's good news if you're getting ready to head out and that's part of your morning commute. In terms of the drive times coming into the capital city, that troubled spot there in I-40 eastbound, you're looking at an 8-minute delay and just a 6-minute delay coming in from Wake Forest this morning. In the Bull City, it looks a whole lot better if you're working in Durham this morning. Very little to no delays, but that I-40 eastbound traffic coming in from Chapel Hill, you're looking at an 11-minute delay. You're getting ready to head out this morning. Check us out on the radio. Michelle?
All right, thank you, Ken. Classes at Appalachia High School in Georgia are canceled today. That's because a 14-year-old was arrested for having a gun on campus. The incident coming nearly 4 months after a deadly mass shooting killed 2 students and 2 teachers there. District leaders say a parent notified officials after their child saw the 14-year-old with the gun. School resource officers were able to arrest the student without incident. However, parents and teachers are upset about the response, wondering why the school was not put on lockdown.
They had an 8-minute window where they tried to find the student, neutralize the threat, and they had the opportunity to put the school on lockdown.
And parents have been asking the board to add weapons detectors and bag policies since the mass shooting, but nothing has been done.
Bird flu has been detected at a commercial poultry farm in North Carolina. It was found in Hyde County and confirmed by multiple labs, including one here in North Carolina. It's North Carolina's first case of bird flu since last February.
And the sister of OpenAI co-founder and CEO Sam Altman claims in a new lawsuit under her brother that her brother sexually abused her. Ann Altman filed a lawsuit in Missouri on Monday. She claims that Altman sexually assaulted her from 1997 to 2006. According to the suit, Ann Altman says the abuse began when she was 3 years old and her brother was 12. She claims that she experienced PTSD as a result. Ann is seeking at least $75,000 in damages. In a joint statement with his mother and brothers, Sam says the claims are not true and his sister struggles with mental health issues.
A North Carolina lawsuit has expanded, accusing real estate companies of using AI to manipulate rent rates. The suit against RealPage names 8 companies that manage 70,000 rental units in North Carolina. State Attorney General Jeff Jackson says instead of letting the market determine rental rates, these companies are using AI to share non-public information with each other. And the concern is unlawful increasing rent.
For areas like Raleigh, roughly 30% of all of the 1- and 2-bedroom apartments in the metropolitan area are controlled or impacted by this AI software.
In fact, North Carolina and 8 other states are suing to stop the use of this AI software. They're asking the court to issue fines. The landlords have not filed a response in court yet.
AT&T is offering customers a discount if they experience an outage. The company says it'll automatically apply a credit to customers' bills if they experience a fiber outage for at least 20 minutes. If an outage lasts for an hour, the credit will be equivalent to a full day of service. The announcement comes after the company suffered a nationwide disruption last February, which lasted more than 12 hours. AT&T says the new offer is a way for the company to, quote, make it right.
The average cost of in-state tuition is actually going down in terms of college. According to the College Board, the average student pays 40% less than they paid a decade ago, and that's after factoring in financial aid and grants. The amount of students graduating with debt from in-state public universities is down almost 60% during the same time frame. The average loan balance has fallen by 17%.
North Carolina public schools are moving away from the Power School and moving to Infinite Campus. In 2023, the State Board of Education voted to move public schools to Infinite Campus, but not everyone is there yet. This map shows the counties that have left Power School. About half of North Carolina's 100 counties have made the switch. There are also several charter schools and city school districts that have switched as well.
More than 100 days since Helene devastated western North Carolina, major progress is being made in recovery efforts. More than 85% of the roads that Helene closed have reopened, and some of these are short-term solutions to reconnect communities. Plans are in the works for permanent road fixtures for the bridge placements too, and by spring, companies that might perform those repairs could have contracts.
And Cumberland County is opening a handful of white flag shelters and warming centers during this stretch of cold weather. They will be open through Friday. They're on your screen there. Warming centers include the county's Department of Social Services, the Public Health Department, libraries, and rec centers. You can find a full list on the county's website.
Your time is 8:23. No longer missing. Found alive. How a hiker survived the Australian wilderness for nearly 2 weeks after he got lost.
And rapidly spreading wildfires, how Airbnb is helping people affected by the fires in Southern California as more fires continue to spark.
As you get into your car, tune to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning. Happy Thursday. Time now is 8:26. I'm Michelle McConaughey. It's chilly out there, and many of us under that winter storm watch. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner here to explain.
That's new this morning. If you're just tuning in, let me explain. It doesn't mean that we're going to see a whole bunch of snow across the entire viewing area, but it does look like we could see 1 to 3 inches in our northern counties. The farther north you are, the more snow. The farther south, the more this is going to be a wintry mix, so the possibility of some isolated power outages. It certainly looks like travel could be tricky on Friday night and into Saturday as well. And again, we'll be watching for that chance of outages if we see those ice totals really piling up tomorrow. Cold weather advisory for today. The wind chills are in the teens. Look at this. Feels like 16 in Fayetteville, 13 in Roxborough, 18 in Goldsboro. Our highs this afternoon only in the upper 30s, Ken.
All right, happening now in the WO Traffic Center. Here's what it looks like. That I-40 eastbound lane's really picking up. Things are beginning to dissipate a little bit around the Beltline this morning. Just keep that in mind. In terms of the major routes coming into the capital city this morning, you're looking at a 7-minute delay on those I-40 eastbound coming in from I-885 and a 5-minute delay for our friends in Wake Forest coming into the capital city this morning. In terms of Bull City, boy, it looks a lot better down there. But that I-40 eastbound traffic, look at this. You're looking at an 18-minute delay if you're coming in from Chapel Hill. I'll have an update at the bottom of the hour over on Fox 50.
Thanks, Ken. The North Carolina DOT already preparing the streets ahead of the winter weather system tomorrow. Crews have begun brining roads today in efforts to keep driving conditions safe. City of Raleigh crews will also be out on the roads as well. Next on Fox 50, the State Board of Education is voting on a new name, image, and likeness policy for student athletes. And next on Today, Elmo and Grover in Studio 1A talking about Sesame Street's 55th season.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
Take a look at our impactful winter weather this morning. New a winter storm watch that goes into effect on Friday, and this morning a cold weather advisory. I'll show you what to expect.
And we are helping you prepare for the winter weather. The efforts being done today to keep people safe on the roads ahead of the storm.
Plus, a final farewell. The funeral services planned today to honor President Jimmy Carter as he's laid to rest. A lot of people will be watching that, and of course, we'll be carrying that on WRAL and across our platforms. Thank you so much for waking up and joining us here on WRAL News on Fox 50. I'm Chris Lovington.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey. Yeah, it's there's no other way around it. It's cold.
It is.
It is so cold out there this morning. It's been the story for the last couple of days. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner with the winter storm watch. You said this is new this morning.
It is new this morning. The entire viewing area in this winter storm watch issued by the National Weather Service. And so we're looking at more chances for snow up to the north, better chance for a wintry mixed with maybe more rain, sleet, freezing rain down to the south. Let's talk about the timeline for this. It's likely to be cloudy tomorrow at lunchtime, and then we're going to see the rain potentially moving in. The rain showers should be really light. A lot of this is going to evaporate before it reaches the ground. There's a very small chance that this could affect some of the brine, but that's unlikely. We'll see snow starting to push in by the time we get to the evening commute. There's 5 o'clock with some snow starting to move into Durham and Raleigh, so you're going to really want to get to where you need to be by the time we get to, say, 5 o'clock or so. The computer models over the last 5 days that we've been watching have really been back and forth with more snow, less snow. It's a tricky situation. So many elements to this. We're watching how much warm air is going to come into this system, and the newer runs of the long-range model are showing more snow for the triangle. So that's interesting. Now, that could flip-flop again later on today. So here's a look. By the time we get to 10 o'clock, we're changing over to more rain, snow, sleet down to the south, and then by midnight or just after, we start to see that changeover around the triangle, and eventually it lifts up to the Virginia line, but right as the precipitation is moving out. This is our snowfall forecast. 2 to 3, maybe up near the Virginia line, around an inch in the triangle, and then less than an inch down south. And our ice forecast is for maybe 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch in our southern counties, and that could cause a few isolated power outages. Roads will likely become slick on Friday night, so again, you want to get to where you need to be and stay there. Saturday morning will be slippery, but we'll warm up above freezing Saturday afternoon. So just be prepared. I have a feeling there's not going to be a lot of bread and milk on the shelves probably by the end of the day today. Cold weather advisory in effect for this morning. Look at these wind chills. It feels like 14 in Rocky Mount, 17 in Durham, 14 in Southern Pines. It is a beautiful start here in Durham with sunshine, but cold at 25 degrees and a west wind 7, making it feel chilly. We'll see a high of 37 this afternoon, but it will feel more like 30 degrees. We're going to talk a little bit more about our new runs of the computer models that just came in.
Yeah, Elizabeth, I picked up eggs yesterday. There was very little left in that shelf. Listen, let's get you updated on what's going on outside right now. This is a situation that there's a crash on New Hope Church Road in the westbound lane there, Atlantic Avenue. We're not seeing any delays in that area, but just be mindful of that. The one I want to bring your attention to, though, is this one. There's an incident blocking the right lane on I-40 westbound near South Saunders Street. We're not seeing it in the immediate area, but you can see the delays that it's causing all the way back there on I-40. So keep that in mind as you get ready to head out this morning. It's something that we'll continue to watch for you this morning. And speaking of the Beltline, there's a live look at the northern loop of the Beltline. This is I-440 and Ridge Road. The westbound lanes are coming toward us, flowing nicely in both directions this morning, so nothing to worry about there. In terms of the drive times coming into the capital city, boy, this I-40 eastbound lanes, you're looking at an 8-minute delay. Wake Forest at about 5 minutes to your commute this morning, so you might want to leave the house a little sooner than usual just to be on the safe side. The better news really coming into the Bull City, very little to no delays, but from Chapel Hill into Durham this morning, you're looking at a 7-minute delay. Of course, you're getting ready to head out the door. We always have you covered on the radio. 101.5 HD3. You can listen to us anywhere in the Triangle.
All right, thanks, Ken. Franklin County schools are on a 3-hour delay today because of the frigid weather. And as you prepare for winter weather tomorrow, you may see DOT crews out on the roads today preparing as well. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey shares crews have already started pre-treating the roads.
Several of the trucks that are here inside this NCDOT parking lot are headed out on the roadways today. The state has plans to start brining interstates later today. Let's take you to video now of the first truck leaving the lot this morning. Trucks from the town of Cary put down brine yesterday. Cary crews will cover 700 miles by the time they're finished. They prepped main roads and neighborhoods around town with trash routes as their #1 priority.
We brine at 40 gallons per mile. With that, we've got a 24/7 operation.
This is an all-hands-on-deck effort between cities, counties, and NCDOT to prepare for this winter weather. We did check in with the city of Raleigh, and they say they plan to send out their trucks as well later today. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Raleigh.
And you can expect live weather updates throughout Friday and Saturday on WRAL News Plus. That's available over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
We do want to give you a live look in Los Angeles right now. I mean, it's, boy, just devastating to see. 5 moving wildfires are growing quickly there. Emergency response leaders say the fires are responsible for at least 5 deaths, and more than 100,000 people in the LA area are under mandatory evacuations right now. Airbnb is offering free temporary housing for people affected by the fires. And when we last checked the CAL FIRE website, it shows the Palisades fire is growing this morning. So far, that fire has burned more than 17,000 acres, and it is 0% contained. The Eaton fire has grown to nearly 11,000 acres, and the Hearst, Lydia, and Sunset fires are smaller, but still burning out of control. People in evacuation zones are being told to pack a bag and get out immediately.
Today, the nation says its final farewell to President Jimmy Carter. This is a live look where his public visitation ended at 7 o'clock. This is the cathedral. President Biden will deliver a eulogy for the late president at his funeral services at Washington, D.C.'s National Cathedral. Biden and First Lady Jill Biden said it's been an honor to call Carter a dear friend over the years. That service will begin at 11 a.m. President-elect Donald Trump, as well as former presidents Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama, all are expected to attend. After his funeral in D.C., Special Air Mission 39 will take the 39th president home to Georgia for a private service at the church where he taught Sunday school for decades. Then he will be buried next to his beloved wife of 77 years, Rosalind.
And as I mentioned before, you can watch the national funeral for Jimmy Carter and all of today's proceedings on WRAL and our platforms. It all starts at 10.
And today, a North Carolina police officer who was shot and killed last month will be laid to rest. A funeral service for Officer Michael Horan will be held in Greensboro starting at 2 o'clock this afternoon. You can watch a live stream on WRAL.com. The Greensboro police officer was shot and killed December 23rd while responding to a call inside a Food Lion. Law enforcement from across the state participated in a procession for him from Raleigh to Greensboro days later. The man accused of killing him, Terrell McMillan, is facing a first-degree murder charge.
More people are out of their homes at the bridges at North Hills Apartments, and that's because of a second fire there in 2 days. Sky 5 flew over that response to the apartment about 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Investigators say the fire started in an HVAC closet. 3 apartments were damaged, and that fire happened less than 24 hours after a fire at that same apartment complex Tuesday night. The first fire damaged a dozen apartments, and investigators say that also started on the roof. In all, at least 30 people are now out of their homes.
Jeff Hogan in the WRAL Live Center. I got some brand new information coming out of the Middle East. Lebanon has elected a new president, and there are a couple of reasons why this is breaking news right now. Take a look. It is a former army chief in Lebanon who's been elected head of state today. Parliament voted, and it fills the vacant presidency with a general who has the approval of the U.S. He is backed by the United States, shows a loss of influence from Hezbollah in that position. Lebanon's last president was Hezbollah-backed, but the country's been without a head of state since 2022. So Parliament got together, they voted. The region had voted a dozen times in the last 2 years without success, trying to find a new leader. So to them, it's a welcome shift in the power balance in Lebanon and wider focus on the Middle East.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Today, new state superintendent Mo Green will give his first report to the State Board of Education. Their meeting gets started at 9 o'clock this morning in about 20 minutes from now in Raleigh. The State Board will also vote on new name, image, and likeness rules for student athletes today. The rule change would allow high school students to work out deals with brands and companies for the 2025-26 school year. The State Board currently prohibits high schoolers from entering NIL deals.
Today, construction equipment manufacturer Caterpillar will celebrate its 100th anniversary with an event in Sanford. Caterpillar's Centennial World Tour starts at its Sanford plant at 1 this afternoon. The company's top officials will be there to speak, and this will kick off a year-long celebration at Caterpillar's plants around the world. The Sanford plant employs about 2,000 people.
Well, gaming is going to a whole new level. Sony's new immersive technology that will allow players to step into the world of their games.
Plus, the nominations are in. Which film and TV shows led the way for the 2025 SAG Awards? Behold, Fountain Mountain outside WRAL Studios. Yes, the fountain is going, and it is so cold That is why we are able to see the ice that has been building up, and it just keeps growing. Yesterday, it was not that high, Elizabeth. It just keeps on going, but it just goes to show that's how cold it is outside.
It is. It's crazy. I love the way you said that. It continues growing. Yeah, it's great. I love it. All right, new this morning, winter storm watch. In effect, for the entire viewing area, we are going to see a wintry mix. That doesn't mean everybody on this map is going to see significant snowfall. It still looks like our southern counties will see more of a mix, potentially enough ice to cause some isolated power outages. Let's take a look at Futurecast and walk you through this. By 3 o'clock, this version of Futurecast is showing a little bit of light rain. Two things could happen here. One, most of that could evaporate before it reaches the ground, because we're going to have a very dry air mass in place. Number two, if it does make it to the ground, it could have some minor effects on the brine that's been spread out on the roads. Hopefully that's not the case. We are likely to start seeing some snow pushing into the triangle as early as around 5 o'clock, and it's covering a good bit of the viewing area at 8 o'clock and coming down fairly steadily. By 9 to 10, we start to see that line lifting northward. South of this line, it's a wintry mix, some sleet, some freezing rain, some rain. That line doesn't make it to the triangle area until around midnight or early parts of the morning hours, and then gradually that's going to shift northward. The new runs of the computer models are trickling in right now, and they are showing more snow than they did run before. Now, of course, we still have another 24, 36 hours before this develops, but the closer we get, especially as we're watching these high-resolution models, they give us a lot more confidence. So right now, we're going for about an inch of snow in the triangle and maybe up to 3 inches to the north. We're going to continue to watch the models very closely, and maybe we would bump those numbers up a little bit if we see more consistency. Down to the south, it's likely to be closer to less than an inch of snow. We still have the potential for, of course, some freezing rain, some sleet, and that could cause some issues in our southern counties. If we see enough ice accumulation, we could end up with some isolated power outages. Roads will become slick. This is going to be an issue for traveling, so you really want to be wherever you need to be on Friday by 5 or 6 o'clock. I think a lot of us are dreaming of a winter wonderland since we haven't seen snow in like 3 years, but the reality for a lot of us is going to be this wintry mix with the ice that forms on the trees and some sleet and rain and that sort of thing. What is the difference between sleet and freezing rain? Meteorologist Anthony Baglione here to talk about how that develops.
Elizabeth, we're going to see many different, as you were mentioning, types of precipitation with this system. And so let's talk about here, first of all, the snow that may be at the initial onset here. When we go up in the atmosphere, thousands and thousands of feet, you can kind of think right above your head, that column of air. If that is all at freezing or below, everything that falls through that is going to be in the form of snow, in the form of frozen precipitation, like we're expecting here at the onset. But when we get some issues here, at least some changes, if you will, is when we introduce a warm layer up in the atmosphere above freezing. We still have this cold, way up high, but that snow falls through the warm layer. It melts completely. And then this is what we call sleet here. If it gets into another colder layer closer to the surface, it refreezes and then kind of bounces off things, has like some sleet pellets. That's kind of what we envision with that. Very similar setup to freezing rain, although that warm layer is more expansive. That cold layer at the surface is really thin. And so, Elizabeth, once we get close to the surface there, it freezes on contact, and we have freezing temps out there this morning.
Oh, and that is the messiest kind of winter weather that we see, that is for sure. Cold weather advisory in effect right now. The temperatures are feeling like teens. That's the wind chill. This cold weather advisory, that name may not sound familiar to you, but the Weather Service changed the wind chill advisory to a cold weather advisory for good reason, because we can have temperatures that are dangerously cold without a wind chill. So that will cover everything. On the right side, the white box there, that's where the wind chill is, and it's in the teens everywhere. 14 Southern Pines, 16 Fayetteville, 14 in Rocky Mount, 18 in Roxborough. It's a pretty start out there with lots of sunshine, just like we saw yesterday, but cold. It is 25 degrees, and we only make it into the mid to upper 30s this afternoon. 37 in Raleigh, 36 Durham, 39 in Fayetteville. The wind chill this afternoon will be right around 30 degrees, so it just stays bitterly cold all day long. Of course, it is a WRAL weather alert day for Friday and Saturday. We're still sifting through those newer runs of the computer models, and of course, Anthony's coming up on the 9 o'clock hour to talk a bit more about that.
And Elizabeth, I made a New Year's resolution to try something new, so I'm trying out traffic today. Happening right now, we have a crash as we give you a live look on I-40 near South Saunders Road. Raleigh police working a crash where the right lane had been blocked, but right now it looks like that crash is off to the side, and all lanes of traffic there on I-40 westbound seem to be getting by. But it is causing some major backups as we give you a wide view here. The delays stretching from Rock Quarry Road on I-40 westbound all the way to the South Saunders exit. So give yourself some extra time if you're traveling there on I-40 this morning as part of your morning commute. We also want to show you a wider view where we're seeing some slowdowns on the Beltline there at I-440. And then also over by the airport, we're seeing the usual slowdowns as people are heading west. And we'll have another traffic update for you coming up in 10 minutes.
All right. Thanks, Renee. Amazing. I love it. All right. Well, a hiker has been found alive after vanishing in Australia's dense wilderness nearly 2 weeks ago. Haiti Nazari disappeared after walking down a trail in a national park near Sydney. Police began a massive search involving hundreds of people. A group of hikers found him yesterday near a trail about 6 miles from where he was last seen. He says he only ate 2 granola bars during the 13 days he was lost. That is almost 2 weeks on 2 granola bars. Paramedics say he was in surprisingly good health.
Certainly happy he was found. Goodness. In a surprising interview on camera, a woman confirms to WRAL Investigates she is the woman in this recording.
She literally had me buy a trash can, dude, and keep him in there for a month.
The she referred to here is Avante Devon, a Fayetteville mother accused of murdering 2 of her adopted children, London and Blake. Police said Avante forced someone else to participate in a plan to hide Blake's body by dismembering and burning it. The woman in the recordings is Cherish Devon, another one of Avante's adopted children. Cherish confirmed to WRAL's Investigates, me specifically, that she participated in that crime.
When she asked you to be a part of this crime, what did she ask you specifically?
There was no asking. There was just, you do it. You're doing it. If not, you're getting in trouble.
Now, that was just a small portion of the near hour-long interview Cherish Devon had with me. You can hear more from her on why she says she was forced to be a part of that crime and what she witnessed moments before she said her brother died. That's tonight at 6 o'clock on WRAL.
Wow. All right. Thanks, Chris. The parents of the late PGA Tour golfer Grayson Murray say they will launch the Grayson Murray Foundation in honor of their son. The goal of the foundation is to raise awareness and support of mental health and addiction challenges. Murray died by suicide last year. Murray was from Raleigh, competing often in local tournaments like the Rex Hospital Open. He was honored at the UNC Health Championship shortly after his death.
Sony is working to bring immersive gaming to a whole new level, and it's one that includes smell-o-vision. Sony unveiled its immersive entertainment concept at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas this week. The video shows several people stepping into the world of the very popular video game, The Last of Us. The walls of the room are made of LED panels, and this experience includes surround sound, scent, sense of touch, and motion technology. It's completely interactive, and it's still a proof of concept, so it's unknown, though, where or when fans will be able to experience this. But as a gamer myself, that looks dope.
That is crazy. Wow. All right, well, nominations for 2 major award shows have been announced. Here's David Daniel with the Hollywood Minute.
The winds hit heavy on the borderline.
Who wrote this? He did.
A Complete Unknown is well known to the Screen Actors Guild. The Bob Dylan movie has received 4 SAG Award nominations, including Outstanding Performance by a Cast. The other films up for that award, Anora with 3 total nominations, Conclave with 2 nods, Emilia Perez with 3, and Wicked with 5.
Brought you all out here to join me in looking forward toward the future.
The Brutalist director Brady Corbett won the Golden Globe. Now he's up for a Directors Guild Award. The other DGA nominees are a SAG replay, Jacques Audiard for Emilia Perez, Sean Baker for Anora, Edward Berger for Conclave, and James Mangold for A Complete Unknown. Meanwhile, another award show has been postponed. The Critics' Choice Awards reportedly have been pushed back 2 weeks to January 26th. The ceremony is held in Santa Monica, just a few miles from the out-of-control Palisades fire, already the most destructive fire in Los Angeles County history. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
And just in case you forgot, we do have a look at your winning lottery numbers, and we will get another check on weather and traffic in just a bit.